As educators, we must learn to manage and value diversity. In any classroom today, we will find many different types of diversities, such as cultural differences, students with disabilities, English language learners, and students at risk. Our first step is to recognize all of these diversities, and then we must learn how to address each one in a manner that ensures all students become successful learners.
Cultural diversity. Cultural diversity is increasing in today's schools and classrooms. By the year 2020, almost half of the U.S. school population will consist of members of non-Caucasian cultural groups. One of the greatest challenges for teachers in this era is how to modify the curriculum to meet student needs in relation to culture. As teachers in a culturally diverse classroom, we would need to enhance our cultural sensitivity, shape the curriculum so that it is culturally responsive to all students, and use cooperative learner-centered instruction. These practices, along with many others, are important for making explicit connections between multicultural education and subject and skill-based curriculum. Enhancing cultural sensitivity is the first step to accommodating students from diverse cultures in the classroom. Cultural sensitivity requires that teachers interpret their students' behaviors within the cultural context of the student. Knowing the nuances and customs of a particular culture, in addition to the artifacts of the culture, is key to developing cultural sensitivity. Knowing the cultural background of students and developing cultural sensitivity will be a crucial part of teaching in the classroom. Educate yourself about your students' cultures. This will help you communicate that you value their heritage. It may also help you connect academic content to a student's set of experiences and knowledge about the world. Ultimately, students whose native culture is valued have a greater sense of self-worth and higher academic achievement.
Students with disabilities. In addition to cultural differences, we must also be willing to address the needs of our students with disabilities. Some of the ways we can assist these students are by implementing differentiated instruction, strategic reteaching, and inclusion. We must do everything we can to help our students with disabilities develop the language and literacy skills they need. But how can we give them engaging instruction that meets their individual needs and helps them make real progress? We take out the guesswork by offering differentiated instruction, strategic reteaching, and inclusion. With the help of these things, we can give our students with disabilities exactly what they need to get engaged in their learning and see an amazing growth.
Differentiated instruction involves providing students with different avenues to acquiring content, to processing, constructing, or making sense of ideas, and to developing teaching material so that all students within a classroom can learn effectively, regardless of differences in ability. Differentiated instruction is the process of ensuring that what a student learns, how they learn it, and how the student demonstrates what they learned is a match for the student's readiness level, interest, and preferred mode of learning. Differentiation stems from beliefs about differences among learners, how they learn, learning preferences, and individual interests. Research indicates that many of the emotional or social difficulties gifted students experience disappear when their educational climates are adapted to their level and pace of learning. Differentiation in education can also include how a student shows that they have mastery of a concept. Strategic reteaching or interventions are for students who may be 1 or 2 standard deviations below the mean according to the results of standardized testing. Often the regular classroom teacher can address specific learning difficulties, but regular progress monitoring is needed to keep track of the students' learning difficulties. Students usually participate in grade-level programs with additional support. Some students may need an additional class period or a before or after-school program to master difficult content. Tutoring and small group work may also be effective.
Inclusion in education is an approach to educating students with special educational needs. Under the inclusion model, students with special needs spend most or all of their time with non-disabled students. Implementation of these practices varies. Schools most frequently use them for selected students with mild to severe special needs. Inclusive education differs from previously held notions of integration and mainstreaming, which tended to be concerned principally with disability and special educational needs, and implied learners changing or becoming ready for or deserving of accommodation by the mainstream. By contrast, inclusion is about the child's right to participate and the school's duty to accept the child. Inclusion rejects the use of special schools or classrooms to separate students with disabilities from students without disabilities. A premium is placed upon full participation by students with disabilities and upon respect for their social, civil, and educational rights.
English language learners. From urban to rural settings, schools are responsible for educating English language learners. For students who are learning English as a second language, school can represent a formidable daily task, both socially and academically. In addition to the pressures that all adolescents experience, these students also experience a myriad of other strains: loss of identity, friends, and culture, an inability to express ideas or communicate in the community at large, high family expectations for academic success, and unfamiliar learning environments and teaching styles. For teachers without a background in English as a second language, determining appropriate teaching methods and goals for these students poses a significant and unique challenge. While it is difficult to generalize about English language learners because they come from such diverse backgrounds, success with English language acquisition often depends on age, native language, and literacy of parents, and reason for immigrating. ELLs pose unique educational challenges to classroom teachers, but it is worthwhile to be aware of several specific difficulties that second language learners face. General teaching strategies for ELL students include using visual aids often, incorporating hands-on activities to demonstrate concept, allow sufficient wait time, modeling spoken language but refrain from embarrassing ELL students, prepare outlines for lectures and distribute them to their learners, encourage skim and scan reading strategies for textbook assignments, and avoid forcing language learners to speak, but encourage them to contribute when they are ready.
Students at risk. Students who are placed at risk due to poverty, race, ethnicity, language, or other factors are rarely well served by their schools. They often attend schools where they are tracked into substandard courses and programs holding low expectation for learning. If schools are to achieve the desired goal of success for all students, they must hold high expectations for all, especially this growing segment of learners. They must view these students as having strengths, not deficits, and adopt programs and practices that will help all students achieve their true potential. The question of what it means to be at risk is controversial. When students do not succeed in school, educators and others disagree about who or what is to blame, because learning is a process that takes place both inside and outside school. And an ecological approach offers a working description of the term at risk. In this view, inadequacies in any arena of life, the school, the home, the community, can contribute to the academic failure when not compensated for in another arena. Why is there a need to focus especially on at-risk students? The personal, economic, and social cost of academic underachievement are high and growing. Each year, increasing numbers of students enter schools with circumstances in their lives that schools are ill prepared to accommodate. Yet from this academically and culturally diverse population must come the next generation of scientists, engineers, and other skilled professionals.
In today's classrooms, the mix of students is more diverse than ever. Educators are challenged to teach all kinds of students to high standards, yet a single classroom may include students who struggle to learn for any number of reasons. Whether it is cultural differences, disabilities, English as a second language, or at-risk students that we find ourselves confronted with in our classrooms, we must be ready to help our students learn. Our students are the future of our country, and we play a pivotal part in helping them become successful. As teachers, we can make a difference. However, this can only happen once we recognize the diversity of our classrooms, value each student, and prepare ourselves to address the needs of all the students we will be blessed with.